Hey, yo, DJ, play me that fire song from SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 real quick. Yeah, that's gonna be every single teacher's pet coming from my throat at the end of this video. But anyways, this is your boy Johnny fucking Moxley, and today I kind of want to talk about something that I feel like not a lot of people talk about. And you could even go as far to say this is pretty much a scorching hot take, but have you ever noticed that the C students were low-key the smartest people in school? And if your answer is no, you're a fucking moron, Johnny, that's perfectly acceptable. And I want to start off by saying I may be biased, but I was kind of the definition of the C student. But this video is not just me blowing smoke up my ass trying to make myself feel better for not getting great grades. No. I've just noticed a pattern within a lot of C students, and I've even looked up YouTube videos on this, and I'm not the first one to talk about this subject. But I wanted my turn. I want to give my perspective and my take on this whole thing. Because I always got mad when all my friends got on a roll, and I never could. I always had at least one or two, or let's be real, more than like 3 C's on my report card. And I was like notoriously labeled the dumb one of my group. If you were like me, who is a C student with like a group of friends who are typically A and B average students, you can relate to this. I never took any honors classes. I was always in either CP1, which was, like the average kid class, or CP2, which was, the dumb kid class, for classes like math and science, which I was absolutely fucking hopeless in. And when it was all said and done, my overall GPA was still like a 2.4, which is pretty much the definition of a C average student. And all throughout high school, all you were going to hear from your teachers, your parents, is that is not good. It could be worse. It could 100% be worse. The D and F students who are destined to work at McDonald's forever, we're not that. But we certainly are not praised and celebrated like the A and B students for getting great grades and being on the quote-unquote right track. Which is why the C student fascinates me. The C student is practically the definition of the middle child. We're like this strange, weird breed that's kind of misunderstood. No one really knows what to make of the C student. They're not bums, but they're not the teacher's pet either. A+ honor students and delinquent near failing students are so recognizable. You know them when you see them, and they are just exactly who you think they are. You can just place a really safe bet of where they come from and what their home life is like, and that's kind of the end of it. They are who they are. But C students, it's a little different. They're a lot more subtle. It's like, who the fuck are they, What's their deal? What are they all about? From a C student to everybody listening right now, this is who we are. And this is why I truly believe that C students are the smartest people in the school. To truly help people understand the C student's personality, I feel like I can't really define it with words, which is why I'm going to give an example of what a C student would do in a typical school scenario. C student example number 1. Everybody is sitting in math class and Mrs. Smith assigns homework. The D and F students let out loud and audible groans and moans. They scrunch up the piece of paper and throw it into their backpack as they leave class. You know they're not doing that shit. They're coming back the next day and that piece of paper is going to remain blank. The A and B students are the ones that are going to ask questions about the homework before they leave class. Maybe they'll ask the teacher if they want us to show our work on a separate piece of paper and then staple it to the original piece of homework. Maybe they'll ask if calculators are allowed to solve the equation. Once they get their answer, they will happily put the homework away in their binder and then leave class. The C student will look at the homework, quickly put it away in their backpack, and go out with the mindset of saying, I'll deal with this shit later, and they'll be the first ones to leave class. Once it's actually time for the C student to sit down and do the homework, they will sit down, stare at this paper, and question the validity of it before they even put pen to paper. The C student will wonder, how is this going to benefit me in the long term? What kind of long-term and short-term gains will I get from completing this homework? Is it worth my time and effort? These are all things that a C student is going to think about before exerting their energy on any kind of work. C students are typically not the type of people that will thrive at math. Therefore, they will look at this math homework, say, okay, it probably should be done. But am I really going to put my all into this shit? Hell no. When the C student returns to class the next day, that homework will be done. It'll be completed. But is he going to stress about not getting a great grade on it? Nope. Because in 6 months from now, when the C student passes the class, is he going to be thinking about how he did on that homework? No. He did what he had to do to pass, and that's the end of it. The C students always think long term. They always look at the bigger picture. If there is no upfront value for them exerting energy on things that they don't like and things that are not going to provide them long-term value, then they won't. But unlike the D and F students who leave themselves left for dead without trying, the C student will make sure that they've done enough to get by, but not stressing about it like the A and B students do. And this leaves the C students with enough time and energy to put the effort into things that they really like doing. Because the C students are typically creative people. These are people that are definitely gifted and work with the creative side of their brain way more than the analytical side of their brain. Hell, I'll use myself for an example. Look at what I'm doing right now. I'm making YouTube videos. This is a fun, creative little hobby that I have for myself that I really enjoy doing. And I'm humble enough to know that this is what I'm good at. Math, I fucking suck at. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's the end of the world to me when I get a bad grade on a math test, because at the end of the day, I don't really give a shit. I know that I will never in a million years pursue anything even closely related to the field of math. Therefore, it is not worth my time. That's a C student. That is a C student. And everything that I just described about how C students operate explains why C students are typically the most successful. Not in their student career. I'm talking about their actual career. I'm talking about the real world, buddy. Because once you enter the real world, you're going to learn real quick that nobody gives a shit how good you were at school. What the real world cares about is what skills you possess and how you carry yourself in the world of businesses. And this is where the C student mindset thrives and comes into play. Because again, a C student is humble enough to know what they are good at and what they are bad at. A business owner is not going to waste time doing something that they are bad at, just like a C student is not going to waste time and energy doing things that they are bad at. The only difference between the real world and school is that in the real world, a business owner can hire somebody else to do the things that they're not good at, whereas the C student is forced to do the things that they're not good at. But little do they know, it's only a matter of time before that mentality starts to pay off in the real world. And this is why the C students run the businesses. What the A and B students are good at, and quite frankly, what they are a lot better at the C students at doing, is following directions. Remember when I used the example earlier of what students would do when they are assigned homework and the A students were the ones that will follow the directions? It all makes sense. A and B students make tremendous employees because they're not questioners like the C students. They will take what's in front of them and just do it. Whereas the D and F students, now they're the ones that are going to work at McDonald's forever. They're the ones that are going to live with their parents until they die because they can't afford to live on their own, because they have no skills. They just don't try. And when you line them all up at the end of the day, who's really winning? It's the C students. They are the ones that go the furthest. Now, every now and then there is an exception, like a doctor or something like that, where I'm super glad that the A students get those jobs. I certainly wouldn't want a C student slacker to be performing life-saving surgery on me. I'm just talking about the vast majority, which is everyone else, and how what kind of student you were really does correlate with where you end up in the real world. C student example number 2. Class presentations. Now, this can remain relevant in any class that you have to present something, but I'm going to be using personal examples from a public speaking class I took back in high school. The reason I chose public speaking and or speech class is because I think this one really helps exemplify the personality of a C student. Example number 1 was a scenario in which a C student does not thrive in, whereas public speaking class, now this is an environment that C students fucking own. Any elective class in high school where the grades are mainly based on creativity is where the C students thrived. The key to getting a good grade in public speaking class is to make your speech as engaging as possible. I bonded with so many classmates in this class over just about any other class I took in high school because you were able to show your personality a bit more. The A and B students would overly organize their presentations and bring in too many facts, and it would bore the audience and even the fucking teacher. They'd make all these PowerPoints and overly script everything, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, do they not get it? I would go up there with no script. I was winging the shit. I'd crack jokes. I'd make it funny. I kept it conversational and entertaining. If the timing was right, I was never afraid to throw in a dirty joke or swear or something. I took risks, and they usually paid off. Whereas the A and B students took zero risks. They overly organized everything, and it was just fucking lame. And after all that hard work of organizing everything and making all these extra things in the speech that they didn't need to add, who do you think got the better grade? Me or them? The correct answer is me, the C student, the guy who had nothing prepared but a hook and winged the rest. I got an A like every single time I did a speech, and I finished the class with an A. And it wasn't just me. Every other C student in that class did great. All their speeches were really funny and really entertaining. And the fucking A students choked. And at the time, I just didn't understand it. I'm like, how the fuck are you choking in a class like this? It's so easy. And now looking back on it, I'm like, holy shit, everything makes sense. You put a C student in an environment where they can be creative and show off their personalities, they are going to thrive because that's what they're good at. And the majority of school does not require you to use your creative side of the brain. The A and B students really just lacked the creative ambition that the C students had, and it's what really held them back in that class. They want directions. C students do not. And it's why a lot of C students go on to be successful salesmen and make a shit ton of money. If there was one thing I was good at in school, it was bullshitting essays. I could have had absolutely no idea what I was talking about in my essay, but I always got good grades on them. Why? Because I was creatively convincing. I knew I didn't need to babble on about whatever the plot was in whatever fucking book I was writing about. All I had to do was make it sound like I know what I'm talking about, and the teacher would buy it. C students just worked smarter, not harder, man. They know what they're good at, and they know what they suck at. They're smart about what they expend their energy on, and most of them will end up using their creative intuition to surpass the A and B students in success. The D and F students end up being the McDonald's lifers. The A and B students end up working for the C students, and the C students are ultimately the ones that find the greatest success. Tell me that I am wrong. Oh, that's right. You can't. Because I'm right. C students for life, baby. Anyways, this was a weird video. This has been your boy, Johnny fucking Moxley, and I am out.